Good afternoon and welcome to A Better Jamaica's Candidates Get to Meet You. Today, A Better Jamaica is giving all of the candidates for District 27 City Council here in Queens a chance to tell their stories. It's a Meet the Candidates forum for District 27 here in Queens, aka another chance for the candidates to strut their stuff. The focus of this candidates getting to know you is to interview the candidates one on one to get to hear their stories, their values, what's important to them, their backgrounds, and of course, their visions for District 21. It is my pleasure now to introduce you to candidate Al Kanu. Good afternoon, Al Kanu.
Good afternoon, Professor Lewis. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us this afternoon on behalf of A Better Jamaica and, of course, on behalf of me, Gail Lewis. So let's get started. A lot of good stories start with Once Upon a Time. So I guess
Yeah.
we're going to start right there with Once Upon a Time. Tell
Wow.
us, candidate Kanu, and I'm going to refer to you as candidate as I do with all of the candidates, just to keep it fair, to err on the side of fairness as always. So, candidate Kanu, tell us, where were you born? Where did you grow up? And we'll start right there.
Thank you. First of all, I want to make a quick correction. You said District 2021. It's
Oh,
27.
I said 21. I'm sorry, 27. I'm sorry. I don't know where that came from.
I don't want people to start looking for my name on the other side of town. But thanks, Professor Lewis, again, once again, for being here with you. It's a pleasure. I have so much respect for you and the work you do in our community. I was born in Sierra Leone, West Africa, and I was born from a family, a political family, a community servant. My dad was an elected official in my country and held the position up to acting as vice president on several occasions, up to 21 times.
Wow.
So I was born in at a time. Actually, I was born at a time when there was a need for development in Africa, but I most importantly, I was born during the time where I was able to see my parent doing amazing work for people. So growing up, I grew up in Africa the better half of my life, and then civil war broke out, and over 60 or 70,000 men, women, and children were killed. I was fortunate enough, and I gained asylum, political asylum, under the Clinton regime, and I was able to move with my family here to New York, and my family and I lived right here in Southeast Queens.
Okay, I'm going to stop you right there. Parents' names, dad and mom.
My father's name is Hassan Kanu, and my mother is Hannah Kanu.
Okay, so Hassan and Hannah had
Yeah.
little Al. How many kids, how many children were in your family?
My father have 12 children. My father have 12 children. I
And
am the I am the
where are
number
you?
10.
Where are you? What, number 10?
Number
Uh,
10.
are there boys after you, or were you the last boy?
No, actually, there are 6 boys. I am the fifth boy.
Okay, second to last boy.
Second
And
to
then there's
last boy.
another girl after as well.
Yes.
Okay, so you're third from the last. Oh, my goodness gracious.
And guess what,
Uh,
Lewis? I am number 10 on the ballot.
that is great. Great. So
Number
you
10 on
are
the
number
ballot.
10
Yes.
on the ballot and one of 10 children. I love
Children.
it. That
There
is
are 12 children, just like there are 12 candidates.
right.
12 candidates, 12 children, and the number 10 of the candidates, the number 10 of the children is the one that actually sought to follow my father's footstep in politics or in government and community service.
That is amazing. It's like it was meant to be, number 10.
Yeah, I feel like it.
So, did you guys get to come to America all at once, or was it a situation where your mom or your dad came here first and then the kids came? How did that all happen?
Yes, my parents were fortunate to come here first, and then several of my siblings came. Two of my other siblings went to London,
Mhm.
and the rest of us came later on, like 97.
Okay. And so, what year did you get here?
97.
Okay. And where'd you go to school?
I went to Jamaica High School where I actually got my high school equivalent. Then from there, I went to York College, which
Mhm.
is right in the district, the only university, CUNY University, right here in our district, in the 27th Council District. So I'm proud to say that I believe that even though I wasn't born here, I feel like I was bred from from the cloth of Southeast Queens, 27th Council District. I went to school here. I have my daughter here. I raised my daughter right here in the district. So I'm not born, but I believe 100% I'm from this community.
But reared here, not born here, but reared here.
Right, exactly.
Uh, so Jamaica High School. What was your favorite class?
Actually, I like English. I wanted English because I remember, like I mentioned, I just come from Africa, so I was fascinated with the accent, and then I was like, wow, I wish I could talk like that. That's so cute. Because
Hmm.
from being in Africa, watching American movies, you're just like, oh my God, this it was something. The TV tells you another story, and then you move there, you see a whole different story that's not on TV. So
Hmm.
English was one that I was very interested in, to be able to have that communication, able to communicate with folks, because I'm moving in a country and a community that I'm a stranger. So if I'm able to communicate, that's the first thing you have to learn, able to
Hmm.
communicate with the folks that you're moving with. So English was the first one.
And then you went to York College. Uh, what did you major in and why?
Political science. When I went to York, at the time when I went to York, there was a little situation going on with the student government and the VP. Her name was VP Hendrickson. She was the vice president, student affair, and the student government was trying to get her fired. And
Ooh.
I, I enrolled during the peak of that. And Rachel Walton, who was my colleague and former also a student at your college, actually met with me and talked to me about what was going on with this student and would like to recruit me to be part of that movement to advocate on behalf of of VP Hendrickson. And I became a very strong advocate on about with in that situation, and we were able to prevent that termination. And
Really?
I started advocating for the school. I started advocating for fellow students. Started advocating for resources for the school and other things that we needed. So doing that, I felt like this is my calling, and I did my major at that time was actually theater art. So I switched my major to political science, and this is where I'm at.
And that's
Political
where you
science
ended.
major. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, wow. So, when you were in college, you took lots of classes in political science, and then how did that lead to a career in public service?
So during my time at your college, after all the advocacy or during the advocacy, I met then council member Leo Ekamwe,
Mhm. How'd you meet
serving, who was serving this district. So I
him?
went to Albany. I went to Albany to advocate again, what I normally do. I went to the
Mhm.
Black and Puerto Rican caucus,
Right.
meeting elected official, asking for funding for our school, our fellow students, and I met then council member Leo Conway, and we spoke about some of the things that I was advocating for. And he asked me my background. He took a time to talk to me about where I was from and why I was so interested in doing what I do. And after that conversation, he said, when we get back to the city, here's my card, give me a call, come by the office. So we came back, I never really followed through. I started my class, and Anthony Andrews, who at that time was a student activity chairperson, reached out to me and said, listen, you should do an intern at Councilmember Leo Ekamwe's office so you can finish your degree in political science. You have to do an internship. I said, sure. So I told him, oh, I met him already. You want me to
Right.
come? So I went over there and I started my internship. I did my internship with the office for several months. And it was supposed to be a 3-4 hours a day for 3 days. And I
Mhm.
was going there from 9 to 5 because my class
Oh,
was
wow.
at night. I was going there 9 to 5 every day, 5 days a week. And when we had events on the weekend, I was there. I was so interested in what
Why? Why exactly? Why were you there all the time?
I remember there was one time, you see, when people talk about the American dream, right? To me, that was an American dream achieved right there. Able to work for an elected official in New York City. And when people talk about the ability that I had, the opportunity to be able to talk to residents And I had a lady came to me at that time. She was going through foreclosure process, and I was able to mediate between the bank, the property owner, and another agency that we work with, neighborhood housing service,
Hmm.
and we were able to actually prevent that foreclosure from happening. And
Wow.
she came to me and said, "Young man, because of you, I have a home."
Oh.
So I was that took a lot in me to say for a kid that came from Africa, and I was able to prevent such from happening. And I just started loving what I do, able to make phone call on behalf of residents and able to attend meetings and advocate on behalf of them to city agencies and coming back to the council member and say, "Oh, this is what's going on." And I'm able to prepare him so when he goes out there, he can actually articulate some concerns that have been coming to the office based on just my interaction with the community. And that was just life changing for me. And I fell in love with it. And
Hmm.
community service became something I have so much passion about. And I feel like it's an opportunity to give back to a community that gave me everything I have today.
So the semester's over and you did your internship. And then what happened next?
I went and visited my family because, like I said, my family moved. My family left New York. They went to Virginia. I said, "Nah, I'm not moving. I love New York. This was home for me now." And I was with my mom, and I got a call. It was on a Wednesday. I got a call, and Leroy Kanu himself called me from his cell phone. And I remember jumping. I said, "Mom, Councilman is calling me, man." And she said, "Pick up, pick up." And I picked up the call, and he was like, how are you?" And we started talking, and he was like, "Where are you?" I said, "I'm in Virginia with my family and stuff like that." He said, "Are you interested in a job? I like the work that you've done over the year, over the months, and I've spoken to my staff. They feel like you would be a great addition to the office to advocate on behalf of my constituent. So if you're interested, you can come in Monday and meet me and we can do the paperwork and you can start working." He said Monday. I left right there. I'd say, "My mom, I gotta go." I left on Wednesday. I went to that office on Thursday and I started working on Thursday
Oh
and
my goodness, the
and,
next day.
and did the paperwork on Monday. And here am I. Here I am.
And
I've been,
so
I,
how
wa-
long did you work for Leroy Comrie? You started working there. What was your position?
I was the community liaison when I
Mhm.
started. Then I became the director of constituent affairs. And I worked for Leroy Conway, then Councilman Conway, for 10 years in the city council.
So that was what year to what year?
I worked from 2003 up to 2013 when he left.
Okay, and then he left and he went to the state senate.
He, no, he went.
No,
He,
he
he
went
was
to
a
the
deputy
borough
borough
president's
president.
office,
Yes, he was a
right, and then the
deputy
state
president.
senate, right.
So he left.
But then when he left the position, did what happened to your position?
When he left the position, um, his successor, Councilmember Miller, reached out, and I worked with him prior to him even being a council member, and we talked about some of the stuff we did in the city council and what we want to do and so forth. So he asked me to serve under his leadership as well as
Hmm.
director of district director. So
Wow,
I took on that job, and also so when Camry left and went to Borough Hall, I moved on and became the district director for his successor, Nick Miller, and I served with him for almost 5 years.
that's great. And so then in that position, what were you doing?
So one thing about the city council, especially under the leadership of Councilmember Miller, you don't do one thing. You we we have to be able to do everything. And that's for the first and foremost thing in those offices is how do you address situation or concerns that are coming from the community.
Hmm.
So reaching out, being the liaison with the city agency, the elected officials, with community. That was the number one thing, and I was very, very good at it. And I love it. I love being the mediator to these concerns that people were reaching out with to the office for. But we were also looking at funding, how we fund certain programs, how what
Hmm.
programs get money, what programs don't, and follow through with those programs that they are actually doing what they claim or what they were supposed to do.
So those are the local not-for-profits. Okay.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Yeah, the local non-for-profit. We follow through the funding, help them through the fundings, and make sure that they get the money that they need to actually provide the services that the community need. So I was also working on that. I was also involved in, during that time, we were still going through a lot of foreclosure situation.
Right.
So bringing agency to address that issue, bringing agencies to address the issue with flooding, having and advocating for funding to address flooding in our community. There are people who are losing their homes just from a little rain, their basement get
Right.
torn apart. So I was working with those people to address most of this issue. But how do we get money to make sure those issues are actually addressed the right way? So people were not just losing their home. People are not just losing their homes. It was important in my job to also oversee. I also was overseeing the services that we provided in the office,
Hmm.
making working and training other staff and getting them prepared to talk to constituents and providing the resources that I have for my 10 years from Kamu's office to this new office. Because most of the staff that were there, this was the first time actually having a governmental job.
Okay.
So
So
they
teaching them.
needed someone with experience that understand how the bureaucracy, but most important, they have the relationship, which is what's important in this job. Someone that can get into office that don't have to start making calls. What do I do? What do I do? But know exactly what needs to be done and who they need to call. So when I got to Miller's office, I was that guy. I knew who to call. I know where to go and
Hmm.
getting those things done. So I was involved in everything to make things happen.
So all told, you were with the city council as staff for 15 years, are you going to say?
Yes, yes.
Okay. And so then why did you leave?
First, I left earlier, and I was asked to run for office in Africa. Uh, as I, like I said, I'm a community servant. A couple of people called me from Africa. There was a need for leadership and guidance in Sierra Leone, West Africa during the Ebola crisis. So I went to Sierra Leone and I ran for parliament in Sierra Leone. And I won that election. I won the primary election.
Nice.
So I was supposed to get to the general election. Then I was asked to relinquish my United States citizenship. And I declined. I said there was no way I was going to turn down my United States citizenship.
So to take the position as an elected official in Sierra Leone, you had to give up your American citizenship.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I didn't feel like it was something I was willing to do. I didn't want to do that, first of all. Besides the fact that my daughter was still young and I wasn't looking into being a distant father. But America didn't ask me to do that when Leeway Common gave me an opportunity. They didn't ask me, where were you from? What do you do? And stuff like that. They
Right.
didn't ask me that question where I'm from. So I didn't feel like it was necessary to do that. And I wanted to learn more anyway. So I decided to come back. So when I came back, of course, before I left, I'd already trained somebody and
Right.
gave my job up. And I trained that young man and gave him my job before I left. So when I came back, of course, my job was not available anymore. So I moved on and I started working for Southern Queens Park Association of Roy Wilkins Park.
Hmm. And are you still there now?
I'm still there. I've been on, yes, I've been there for 3 years now.
And what's your position there?
I'm the assistant to the executive director, who's the Honorable Jacqueline Boyce.
Okay. And
So
what do you do there on are you on leave right now or just taking vacation because you're running?
no, I'm on leave because I'm actually on leave on other situation that I need to be out of all the office.
Hmm.
And of course, yes, I'm running. So I took time off from that. But while I'm there,
Hmm.
SQP address the education and other programs within the community. So
Hmm.
I oversee with a colleague of mine the rental aspect of what events comes in and managing the entire park. And the resources are very limited, so it's very difficult to manage that park. So I was also, while I was there, I was a strong advocate to making sure that we have resources at the park to address the needs of the community. Because
Like what?
at the cleaning, especially cleaning up the park sometimes illegal dumping, people coming in, dump their garbages from home and construction and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So addressing that need, making sure the park is clean enough for the community to use, it's a major challenge because it's 54 acre of land. The staff that maintain the park is about 5 staff. It's
Oh,
not a,
wow.
there's
That's
no
10 acres per staff person.
exactly. There's no track. tractor. There's no heavy machinery to do the everyday work. So it's challenging. But I was fortunate because of my relationship with some of the elected officials to ask for funding to get services to address those concerns.
Wow. So, so that's where you are right now.
Yeah.
So you've talked about all of this experience, your experience at Jamaica High School, and then York College, and then working for then Council Member Comrie, and then well, and now and then after that, Council Member Miller, and then working at Southern Queens Park Association,
And
even
then I went
running.
to Manny Williams' office.
I'm sorry.
Then I went to the public advocate for about 6 months.
Oh, okay.
Jamani Williams,
Tell
yeah.
us about that. Why
Well,
did you go there? When were you there, and in what capacity?
when he was running, I was reached out to work on his campaign, so I helped him on his campaign. When he won and became the public advocate, later he asked me if I want to work to be one of his community liaison. Of course he have a district deputy board president, public advocate, who is
Right.
a young lady from our community that
Mhm.
handles every governmental relationship within the district on his behalf. So I
Mhm.
became his Queen's liaison, working with
Nice.
her
Uh-huh.
on behalf of the public advocate. So part of our responsibility was to make sure we make the office available to Southeast Queens and Queens in general. Make
Mhm.
sure people know that despite the fact that the office is in the city, there are folks here that you can reach out to that will bring the message directly back to the public advocate to address issues that people will need. And it range from gun violence to housing to any other issue that you need a public advocate in attention on. We were able to bring those concerns to the public advocate and address those issues on behalf of him as well.
And so you were there before you went to Southern Queens Park
I
Association?
was there while I was at Southern Queens Park
Okay.
Association.
And
I,
so you've talked about all of
yeah.
this experience as Southern Queens Park Association, the uh, the Public Advocate's Office, two council persons. You were on their staff as well. So my question is, what about your background makes you particularly well suited to represent the 27th?
Wow, my experience, everything I just talked about. I mean, none of the candidates that are running have this experience that I have. I have two of the council members that served in the same office that I'm running for, and keep in mind both members are supporting my campaign. So I have the experience. But what's important, Ms. Professor Lewis, is that the job that we all seek, or the job that I'm seeking, besides your experience which I have, relationship is important.
Right.
You have to be able to build relationship and able to bring resources to our community. There are 51 members in City Hall, 51 council members. And among these members, one is elected to be the speaker, right? So with 51 members, you're talking about sharing $50 among 51 members. It's
Yeah.
no one is going to get equal number, right?
Hmm.
But if you're able to work with people from all angles, from different aisles, and able to work with people for the betterment of a community, you can actually bring enough resources, or at least a major resources, to address many of the concerns we have. There are 35 new members that are coming in. 16 of them will stay in the city council if all 16 get reelected. And and these new members that are coming don't have the experience, whether it's for budgeting and development for our community. But with what we just went through and what's coming, what we're expecting, fortunately, we're able to get billions of dollars coming to our city.
Hmm.
We need
You mean
someone that have experience
what we just went through with
with
coronavirus?
COVID, with the
Okay.
virus, right? We need experience, but also someone that can work with others to bring resources, or else we're going to be left behind. I have the relationship and I have the experience. So going to City Hall, I'm not going to a strange place. I'm going to a place where I've walked through the hall. I've walked through every offices at City Hall or 250 Broadway to address issues that we face today. So going there, it's not, hey, welcome. No, it's going to be welcome back. And that's the kind of thing you need to bring resources to our community. And my experience in that relationship is what I think we need right now at this point. But most importantly, it's my record. The things that I've done in Southeast Queens speaks for themselves. When you ask people that have interacted with me or that have assisted in dealing with a situation that they requested my assistance from, I have proven time and time again to make sure that I accomplish those requests and get things done. I'm able to get things done in the district. People,
So, so you just, I'm sorry to interrupt, but you just said people say that you get things done. Name one thing that you've gotten done for the 27th district specifically.
well, first of all, I'll talk about the 183rd Jamaica Avenue. 183rd and Jamaica Avenue, prior to Denise coming to office, that place been flooding for years and people moved out. So when Denise came to office, well, prior to him coming to office, I spoke to residents there that are asking for funding that they need to actually elevate, to repair their sewer line. So I was able to advocate with the Nick Miller leadership and get $8.5 million to actually repair the sewer line or change the sewer lines over there. We did that. When we did that, what was happening now recently, the DOT and Parks Department, PD, were giving ticket summonses to the homeowners because the DOT that's doing the construction there, they have all their tractors packed on the street. So homeowners have no place to park. So alternate side parking became an issue also. I was reached out to again. Well, I don't work in the city council anymore, but
Mhm.
just during this period, I was reached out to again to see how can I advocate on behalf of those residents to make sure that alternate side parking ticket was stopped during this kind of construction with all these heavy machines on the streets. I was able to work with NYPD,
Mhm.
DOT, and the councilman's office, and we were able to stop that. So I provide the funding and I stopped the summonses that people were getting at this time. So that's just one thing I've been doing. But I made sure during this COVID, I was providing food to seniors and people in need and PPE the entire period, and up to now we're still doing it. So
Mhm.
those are just some stuff that I've done recently, and I continue to do work. The people need me, and I'm there.
And so on, you've mentioned a lot of different issues with the 27th district that we have right now. So day one, you are council member Al Kanu. What legislation are you working on first? What's the first thing you want passed?
Well, first of all, the day one it will be January 23rd. If people go out and vote, and I'm able to get the 50+1 vote on June 2nd. I'm sorry, I said January. I mean June 2nd, June 22nd. If I'm able to get that number on the 23rd, I have to start calling meetings, calling leadership meetings, talking to community folks in our communities, to start planning ourselves before we get to City Hall, to start putting on what are some of the things that we think should be priority, right? I don't want to be a council member that tell people this is what we're going to do. But I want people to be part of it. I want to be, it's a team, it's a team. We say teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Mhm.
So I want to be able to have all these leaders, community folks, clergy folks, community board, and everyone from different areas sit there and we start talking about the next budget, right? Because what's the first thing that's coming to City Hall 2022 is how we address the budget.
Right.
And that is significant. But when it comes to legislation, because of my experience at City Hall, I'm interested in working with our elected official in Albany to address how the mayoral appointment actually works in this charter. So what I've seen over the years is that the mayor appoints you on a Friday or Thursday, and you go to work on Monday.
Oh,
There's
wow.
no there's no
No
process,
vetting.
right. There's no vetting process of some of these appointees that are
Right.
appointed by the mayor. So I want to make sure our city charter has that. So we can actually sit down with these mayoral appointees and address some of the concerns. So what happened now is when I work in the city council, we call it, for example, I call DOT office and I'll tell them about a situation. It takes them 6 months just to get back to you, and they have to do a whole lot of study, and there's so much other issue that they while I'm waiting for them, they're doing work in other places, other communities, other than Southeast Queens, other than our community. So I want to make sure I'm able to hold them accountable. So I believe if we have a vetting process and have questions and have this conversation with these appointees, we're able to know who can do the work and who can't do the work, or who have my interest and who doesn't have my interest. So that's a legislation I would love to pass. And if it's not possible to pass, I'll do it like the same way they did ranked choice voting. Make sure we pass it through the voting system. Go back to the people, let the people vote and make
Put it
it
on the ballot, right?
put it on the ballot. So we can actually change how these people address our issues. And that include also the appointment of the New York City Police Department police commissioner. I'm going around knocking on doors, talking to people to vote for me so I can represent them in City Hall. The police commissioner represents every police officer in the entire city. And he don't have to go around knocking on doors and asking for support. He just got appointed. And then he moved on. And then we call him about situation relating to gun violence and stuff like that, public safety or relationship between community and police. It takes us a long time to get answers. So we got to make sure we're able to hold these people accountable, and we have to put it on the books.
So do you think the police commissioner should be um, voted on by police officers, or how do you think that should change, or it should be reviewed before he or she is put into the position?
I think they should go through either the vetting process that I want to create at City Hall, or should be an elected position where everyone, we vote for them as well.
Okay.
But in terms of like the precinct command, I would like the precinct command to go through the community board. Each precinct commander should be elected by the community board that they're in.
Okay. Wow. All right. So those are some interesting pieces of legislation. Thank you. You mentioned your daughter. What's her name? How old is she? Where does she go to school?
My daughter is Olana Taraj Kanu. She's 10 years old. Number 10 again. I keep telling you about this 10. This is an amazing number for me. My daughter is 10. My daughter was born January 21, 2011, and she was born a preemie. And doctor said it was either her or mom. It was challenge. It was some challenges with her birth. And then we prayed on it, called a couple of my friends that are pastors. We did a couple of prayers, the imams, couple prayers in my family. And today she's 10 years old, and I thank God. And I'm a testimony that there's a God, because it was God's will for my daughter to survive what she went through. She's 10 years old. She loves community service. She goes everywhere that I go. I'm so happy that I have my daughter, because everywhere I go, she's there and she's helping me doing stuff. I call her my little campaign manager right now. But she goes to a school in the Bronx with her mom, because she lived with her mother. And recently she just moved. Matter of fact, I just finished having a conversation with the principal at PS 360, Principal Thomas. So that will be the school she started going in coming September.
Nice. All right. And she'll be going into what grade? She's 10.
Fifth grade. She's going to the fifth grade.
Okay. Very nice. And so in your life, who knows you best? Who would you say knows you best?
My life. My siblings.
Anyone in particular?
My brother, my younger brother Ish.
How different in age are you?
11 months.
Okay, so he's very close. You're like twins.
11 months, yes. My younger brother knows me best. I grew up with my younger brother, and we've done everything together since we were kids. And I remember when we first came to the United States, I was working on Hillside Avenue giving flyers. My first job. So when we came to the United States, my dad took us to the Popeyes on one by Merrick, on Hillside Avenue between Merrick. So we went to the Popeyes and we got chicken. So now on our way back to go eat our food, there was a lady that he knows that she had an optic center right on 173rd. And she said, "Oh, I'm looking for someone to help me clean my office." And my dad said, "Oh, my son can work for you."
Perfect.
And so I didn't get home and eat the chicken. So my family still owe me that chicken. So they went home and eat while I stopped and started working. So on the day I arrived, I started working immediately. And I remember giving my brother his first $40 when I got paid. And I always think about it. And I remember his face when he received, when I gave him like, "Hey, here's your cut. I got paid, here's a cut." And he was very excited. And he said, "Can I get a job too?" So we both guys, I said, "Okay, fine, you can go with me." So after I cleaned the office, I go out and give flyers out. I was giving flyers out in the street, and I get paid $20 a day. And by the end of the week, we split it.
Oh, nice. Oh, that is so great. And that was your very first job.
That was my very first job.
Wow.
Right on Hillside Avenue, yes.
That is perfect. So you're going to say Ishmael, your younger brother by 11 months, knows you best.
Yes, Ish knows me best. Ish and I done everything together. Yes.
So, what would Ish say is your greatest strength?
I don't say no. My willing, Ish will say my strength is also my weakness. Is which is I'm very giving. My heart is I'm very. I look at people. I don't judge you, and he will say my brother will not judge you, and he will not condemn you upon meeting you, and he will be there for you whenever you need something. He will be there for you, even when you do anything negative towards him. Al is going to be there standing next to you to help you. So he will say that is your strength to making sure that you're a giver. I'm a community. I'm a servant, right? So I always want to just do things for people, and that's what each sees in me. That that's what that's what he does. But at the same time, the people that are doing bad to him, he will still go out there, still trying to do it. So it's his strength and his weakness.
That was my next question. What would Ish say is your greatest weakness?
He will say the same thing that he says my strength.
Mhm.
And like he always tell me like sometimes you gotta look at some people and say, you know what, no.
Mhm.
And I'm not. I feel like when it comes to that, God will judge people. You know, I'm gonna do what I can, and if you don't do what you can, God will pay me for it. Look, I'm a kid from Africa, and I'm running for office in New York City, the greatest city in the world. If it's not because of the things that I've done, and God able to guide me through this, what I'm doing, then I don't know what it is. So I may have done something bad for some. I may have done something good for somebody that was bad to me, but God is paying me to go through what I'm going through now, to doing what I'm doing now. So I don't do it for people sometimes. I do it because it's the right thing to do.
So we only have a few minutes left. So I have two really quick questions. First, the biggest problem in the district and how would you solve it?
The biggest problem in our district, it depends to what area you're talking about, right?
Mhm.
Professor Lewis. In different area and different folks have different concerns. If you talk to property owners right now, they tell you about their property tax, which is why I'm planning now. I'm working on a tax property forum that should be held tomorrow to talk about our property tax with what just happened in the city council with the committee that just put out this 10th plan, this 10th proposal that we need to talk about. So I'm having a forum with Councilmember Miller and Senator Conway to address that. So when you talk to homeowners, they're saying property taxes are issue. Why am I paying $4,000 for my property that costs $500,000, $600,000? Yet someone in Park Slope is paying $2,800 for a property that costs $1 million. So when you talk to those folks, that's their concern. How
Mhm.
do we fix that? We have to make sure that there's equity within city council. City council members have to talk directly to the next mayor, to push the Senate, to push the governor, to address this equity in property tax. And if we don't do it, I just released my property tax um, plan on my website today, actually, to address that issue. My plan, what I think is will work for that. But also, if we as the council member do not push the mayor, if the mayor does not accept or does not do what he or she needs to do to get this done, as a council member, I will definitely push it myself to the media and community folks to make sure that the Senate and the Assembly look into our property taxes in New York City and try to address that issue as soon as possible. But then if you talk to young folks, they're telling you they don't have places to go,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
So where do they go? There's no community center. So we have to make sure we address, when we look at things to address in our community, we have to look at the community's exact areas. What does this group want? What does this group want? So I'm also I spoke to the Parks Commissioner to see if we can actually put a rolling skate park in our district, right? So young folks can have places to go and don't get this wrong. There are elderly, two elder folks
To
that
say
like
not
to
just young
skate,
people who like to skate.
yeah. So but, but young people want to come out, and we got to make sure that there's a place for everyone to go. So it's providing resources. The number one thing right now in our community, in a nutshell, is resources. fighting to get equitable resources, whether it's for our schools. Let's talk about healthcare. We talk about fixing infrastructure. We talk about senior services, the senior centers, the senior home. We have 2 senior home naturally in our district. We have Kanu Life and we have International. Those properties need to be repaired, and we need to address those immediately when we come to office.
And my last question, we're running out of time. How should we measure your progress in 4 years? So let's say you are the council member. 4 years from now, how do we measure your progress?
You're going to see the exact work. You're going to see my work. My work is going to be visible because everything that I talked about that I'm trying to do is going to get done. So my progress is going to be what the physical things that you see out there, and the fact that my office would be open on whether it's Zoom or email or anyway. But every Friday, I'll make sure that I am communicating with the resident of Southeast Queens of everything that happened within the week in City Hall. So I'll make sure I give you a Friday report of what's going on, and you're gonna see it tangible out there in the street. When I say I'm putting a community center, you're gonna see a community center. When I say I'm doing this, you're gonna see it. And that's how you're gonna see the difference in what I do in the City Hall.
And 1 minute wrap up, why should we vote for you?
Because I'm the best. I'm the guy, I'm the person that's going to get things done. I'm the person that knows exactly how City Hall works and how to advocate on behalf of our community. I'm the one that's going to work with our current elected officials who are in office to make sure that I pressure them to bring resources to our community. I'm the one that right now I can go to any of the office. I can say, hey, hello, and I walk in. I have that relationship already. So being a council member, being their colleague, is just another stepping stone. But to get things done, I'm the one that have the relationship and the know-how to get things done in our community. But most importantly, the relationship that works with community folks, because no council member can do this by themselves. You have to work with the people, the clergy, the community board, the community civic organization, all of those folks. We have to work with each of those folks to get things done. And I'm the one to do that because I've been doing it for the last 20 years of my life in this community. And I know the folks that know exactly what we need for this community. And those folks I'm going to bring to the table so we can plan about the 27th together. It will not be a plan for just Al Kanu or from Al Kanu. It'll be a plan for the 27th Council District by the community.
Thank you. Thanks for joining me, candidate Al Kanu. And thank you everyone for watching. I am Gail Lewis, and on behalf of A Better Jamaica, it's been my pleasure today to sit down with candidate Al Kanu. Best of luck to you, candidate Kanu.
Thank you very much, Professor Lewis. I really appreciate this time that we have together. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me. On behalf of everyone here at A Better Jamaica, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you again real soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.